I'm Genevieve Taylor and this is Bristol Fire School. So today's film is about teaching the master technique of barbecue, direct versus indirect cooking. So I'm going to be cooking some beautiful spiced soy lemongrass star anise pork skewers with some grilled pak choy, but really the recipe just exists to teach you one technique, the difference between direct and indirect cooking and how that gives you, the cook, complete control of what you're cooking. So what we've got is a fire here and no fire here. So that gives you two heat zones, or in fact, it's not really a hot zone and a cool zone. It's like a gradation of heat. So it's like really hot over the coals and less hot and less hot and less hot. So it gets cooler. Just like turning a dial up and down on your hob in the kitchen, you know, you can have high, medium, low. Same with barbecue if you give yourself heat zones. So what you would never ever do in barbecue is flood the whole base of your barbecue with charcoal, because then all you've got is really bloody hot. You don't have any safety zone. So having that fire-free zone gives you safety. It gives you somewhere to move, it gives you wriggle room. Right, so what I've got in this pan is water, just plain water, ginger, star anise, chili flakes, and at the bottom there they've sunk is some cloves. And I want to boil that down basically. So it's not just flavouring a sauce, it's extraction of all those amazing aromatics into the water, and then we'll use that as our marinade. Brown sugar, soy sauce. Yes, it's a lot of soy sauce, but what we're doing here is making a marinade, a base and a sauce. So it's a kind of triple sauce for one recipe. And then we want plenty of garlic. I'm going to go for 4 cloves here. So by boiling those spices in the water, you're pulling out all the kind of the volatiles, the flavours from the spices that won't come out in fat alone because they're water soluble. So you're sucking them out in the water, then they go in the marinade. You get a lot more bang for your buck. This is a kilo of diced pork shoulder. So what you need to remember about marinades, I'm going to make a whole video on the science of marinades, but just briefly is most things in a marinade are a surface treatment. So by having a lot of surface area, so smaller pieces of things, you're going to get way more flavour from that marinade. Big fan of these double skewers, because what you get, 2 spikes joined together, then the things on your skewers don't turn around and get really irritating. So they're a super useful little thing. Right, that marinade, going to get it back in a pan. I'm going to go over the heat on the barbecue just to bubble away. I literally am the world's messiest cook, so let's have a little tidy up. Right, so I'm ready to cook my pork skewers now. So just here is my very, very hot zone, and here is my cool zone. So I can hold my hand really nicely over here. It's not hot at all. And then as I come closer to the fire, so that's just off to the side, I can start to feel it. And then when I'm over the fire here, literally, I cannot hold it over there. So if I just show you on this infrared probe, just because it's fun, when I'm directly over the fire here, we've got like 400, 500 Celsius. That's just flashed high at me then. That means it's over 550 Celsius because that's as high as this goes. And then if I come further and further away, as soon as I'm off the side of the fire, we drop down to kind of 200-ish, 250, and then it gets cooler and cooler and cooler. So you're not really making two heat zones, you're making a gradient of heat zones. So you've got real hot over the fire, so hot, and then it gets cooler and cooler and cooler and cooler. That's how you give your control. So in barbecue, you move your food from hotter to cooler, instead of turning a knob up and down like you would on a hob inside. So you move the food through a horizontal plane to give yourself heat control. So I'm cooking today in a kettle barbecue with my charcoal on one side and no fuel on the other side to give me those important heat zones. If you had a Kamado style barbecue, you would put a heat deflector plate on one part and no heat deflector plate on the other side to give you the indirect and the direct. In a open wood fire, fire to one side, no fire to the other side, pretty obvious. And in a gas barbecue, one burner on, one burner not on. Hot, not hot, direct, indirect. So this section here is your safety zone. That is your get out of jail free card. Somewhere to move the food to should it all be getting too hot. This is just some sesame oil over some wedges of pak choy that I will grill hard and fast whilst the pork's finishing. I forgot to add the lime juice to my marinade, so I'm just going to get that in there now. We're going to baste it all over when the skewers are cooking, so we're still going to get that limey flavour in there. So starting them over this really high heat is all about building the colour, the flavour, that browning reaction, getting all those sort of natural sugars in the soy kind of all caramelly and delicious. So that gives us the flavour, and then we'll slide them away from the high direct heat to the indirect size to finish cooking a bit more gently. And I'm always going to shut the lid between turning them because the lid gives you oxygen control because it stops the fire getting too hot. So if you've got a lid, use it. So just a little few minutes is all that took, whilst the pork was finishing indirectly over this side, lid down, almost like a bit of an oven heat. I'm just going to give it one more. Oh, my brush is hot. With a glove on, because the brush is hot, I'm just going to give this pork one little baste. And I may as well put just a little bit on the pak choy as well, I think. So that's our cooked marinade doubling up as a baste. And we're going to use it as a dressing as well in just a second. Get that one off. Okay, so pak choy. skewers over here. Just get all that beautiful marinade over there. So we've got beautiful pork skewers with soy and lemongrass and ginger and star anise and some grilled pak choy. These are going to be delicious. But actually what you've learned here is more important than the recipe. It's about heat zones. It's about direct cooking and indirect cooking. So direct cooking for colour and flavour, and indirect cooking for sort of gentle oven-like finishing. Absolutely critical skill in barbecue. Once you've learnt that foundation, you will learn that you can practically barbecue anything. I mean, not practically, actually anything, and I'm going to teach you that over the course of this series. So this is the basic foundation, direct cooking versus indirect cooking. Next time, we're going to push things a little bit further.